Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be diving deep into something I think we've all thought about at some point, hair loss.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that comes up a lot.
We've got some really interesting info on it from a dermatologist who specializes in hair and scalp health. They were recently on a podcast and had some great insights.
Definitely.
So today we're going to try to figure out why hair fall is so common.
Right.
What actually causes it? What can we do about it? And basically how to take good care of our hair for the long haul.
Yeah.
So to start, how much hair loss is actually normal?
Well, the dermatologists we're looking at, they emphasize that losing like 50 to 100 hairs every day is actually totally normal.
Really?
Yeah, it's just part of the natural cycle of growth and shedding.
Huh, interesting.
So yeah, if you're seeing a few strands, in your brush or going down the drain when you shower, don't worry about it.
Okay, that's good to know. So when does it actually become a concern then?
Well, it's when you start to see a lot more shedding than that, above that 100 hairs a day, or if you can just see that your hair is spinning out.
Yeah.
That's when you want to start figuring out what might be causing it.
Right. So what are some of the things that cause hair loss then?
So one of the biggest ones, especially for men, is genetics.
Okay.
Androgenetic alopecia, you might know it as male pattern baldness.
Right.
Super common.
Yeah.
But women can have it too.
Okay.
And it usually looks like just general thinning all over the scalp.
So it's just in our genes, huh?
Could be, yeah.
Interesting. So what else can cause it?
Well, think about what usually leads to bad hair days. Stress.
Ugh.
It can actually cause a temporary increase in shedding. It's called telogen effluvium.
Telogen effluvium.
Yeah, it's basically just a fancy term for temporary hair shedding from stress.
Okay.
So when you're stressed, it kind of pushes more of your hairs into a resting phase, and then a few months later, they start falling out.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
I've definitely noticed that when I'm stressed, I lose more hair.
It's a real physiological response.
So are there other things besides genetics and stress that can cause hair loss?
Yeah, your diet can actually play a big role too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, your hair needs certain nutrients to grow, and if you're not getting enough of them, it can definitely show.
Like what?
So things like protein, certain vitamins like B and D, and minerals like iron and zinc. Those are all super important for healthy hair.
So if someone's noticing they're losing more hair, what should they do first?
I mean, eating healthy and managing stress is great, but the best thing to do is see a dermatologist.
Oh, okay.
To get a diagnosis.
Makes sense.
Because there are so many things that can cause hair loss.
Yeah.
And if you try to treat it yourself, it might not work, or it could even make it worse.
Yeah. So no DIYing it. Go see a doctor.
Exactly.
So what happens when you go see a dermatologist for hair loss?
They'll do a full evaluation to figure out what's causing it. So they might do blood tests to check if you're deficient in anything.
Right.
They'll examine your scalp to see if there's any inflammation or anything else going on.
Okay.
And sometimes they might even take a small biopsy of your scalp.
Oh, wow. A biopsy.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of serious.
It's not as bad as it sounds, and they don't always do it.
Oh, wait.
It's just to get a really detailed look at what's happening at the cellular level.
Oh, I see.
So it shows you how much expertise a dermatologist brings.
That's true. So let's talk about how to fix it.
Okay.
What are some of the treatments for hair loss?
So it really depends on what's causing it.
Okay.
So if it's androgenetic alopecia,
right,
they might suggest a topical treatment like minoxidil.
Minoxidil?
It can help stimulate hair growth.
How does that work?
Basically, it widens the blood vessels in your scalp.
Okay.
Which might help get more nutrients to your hair follicles.
So there are medications that can actually regrow your hair.
Yeah, potentially.
That's pretty cool. What about for stress-induced hair loss?
Well, if stress is the main cause, managing that stress is going to be super important.
Okay.
So things like meditation, exercise, or even therapy can be really helpful.
Right.
And sometimes they might recommend certain supplements to help your hair grow while you're dealing with that stress.
Okay.
But the key is to fix the stress, not just cover up the hair loss.
Right. So get to the root of the problem.
Exactly.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that diet's important for hair health. What are some of the nutrients we should be focusing on?
The dermatologist really recommends iron, zinc, vitamins B and D, and of course protein.
Yeah.
Those are all essential for hair growth.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Are there specific foods that are really good for that?
Definitely. So leafy greens like spinach and kale are great for iron.
Okay.
Nuts and seeds for zinc. And then things like fish and eggs have vitamin D and protein.
That makes sense.
Those are just a few examples. But the best thing you can do is just eat a balanced diet with lots of whole foods.
Yeah.
That's really the best way to make sure you're getting everything you need.
What about multivitamins? Are those ever helpful?
Yeah, they can be helpful if you aren't sure if you're getting everything from your diet.
Right.
But whole foods are always going to be the best source.
Okay, I see what you mean. What about natural remedies for hair loss, like oils? Do those actually work?
So they can help, but it's important to understand how they work.
Okay.
So they don't actually prevent hair loss directly.
Gotcha.
But things like coconut oil and castor oil are really good at hydrating your scalp.
Okay, so they're more about keeping your scalp healthy,
Yeah.
which can lead to healthier hair.
Exactly. A healthy scalp is essential for healthy hair growth.
Right.
And those oils can also help improve blood circulation to the scalp when you massage them in the world.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not about like magically regrowing hair. It's more about supporting the overall health of your scalp. Okay, cool. So we talked about causes and some treatments, but what about prevention? What can we do every day to take good care of our hair?
One of the easiest things is to avoid using too much heat on your hair and also chemical treatments.
Okay.
Like coloring or perms.
Yeah, I definitely use a lot of heat on my hair.
Yeah, a lot of us do, but it can really dry out your hair and make it more likely to break.
Makes sense. So maybe I'll lay off the curling iron a bit.
Yeah, it's good to give your hair a break sometimes.
Okay, what else?
Another important thing is to be gentle with your hair, especially when it's wet.
Okay.
So using a wide tooth comb and avoiding brushing it when it's wet.
Right, wet hair is weaker, right.
Exactly.
Okay.
And try not to wear your hair in really tight hairstyles too often.
Okay.
Like tight ponytails or braids.
Gotcha.
They can pull on your hair and cause hair loss over time. It's called traction alopecia.
Traction alopecia, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, so just switching up your hairstyles and avoiding those super tight ones can really help.
Okay, I'm definitely guilty of the tight ponytail, so I'll try to loosen up a bit.
Good idea.
Any other tips?
And don't forget about hydration.
Yeah, of course.
Drinking enough water is good for your whole body.
Sure.
And that includes your scalp, which we know is super important for healthy hair.
All right, I can definitely drink more water. That's an easy one.
Definitely.
So just to recap, what are the main things our listeners should remember about hair loss?
First, don't freak out if you're seeing a few hairs fall out. That's totally normal.
Okay.
But if you're seeing a lot of hair loss or your hair is thinning, definitely see a dermatologist to get a diagnosis.
Right, so don't panic, but don't ignore it either.
Exactly.
See his professional.
Yep. And eating healthy and managing stress can really go a long way in preventing and dealing with hair loss.
Okay.
And be gentle with your hair. Keep that scalp healthy.
This has been so helpful. It's crazy how much there is to know about hair.
It really is.
All right, let's take a break to think about everything we've covered. And when we come back, we'll dive into some even deeper questions about hair health.
Sounds good.
So we were talking about scalp biopsies and how they can show so much about our health.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can learn from them.
Like, it's crazy to think that losing your hair could mean something bigger is going on.
Yeah, for sure. Like a biopsy might show that you have an autoimmune disorder or a hormonal imbalance or even like nutritional deficiencies.
Wow, that's wild. It makes you wonder what else could be affecting our hair that we don't even realize.
I know, right? Researchers are looking into all sorts of things. One thing I find really interesting is the gut microbiome.
The what?
The gut microbiome, it's all the bacteria that live in your gut.
Oh, right,
And
right.
there's more and more evidence that those bacteria can actually affect hair growth.
So our gut health affects our hair too.
Apparently so.
Wow, it seems like everything in our bodies is connected somehow.
It really does. And another area of research is looking at how environmental pollutants affect hair health.
It's interesting.
Like air pollution and heavy metal.
Oh yeah, those can't be good for you.
Right. They can actually damage hair follicles and cause hair loss.
That makes sense. We're exposed to so many toxins these days.
It's true. So it really highlights how important it is to take a holistic approach to hair care.
What do you mean by that?
It's not just about the products you put on your hair.
Right.
It's about taking care of your whole body, eating healthy, managing stress, being aware of your environment.
Yeah, that makes sense. I never thought about it like that before.
It's a whole new way of looking at things.
This is really changing how I think about hair care. I used to think it was all about shampoo and conditioner.
Oh, no, right.
But it's really a reflection of how healthy you are overall.
Exactly. And when you start seeing your hair as a sign of your overall health, it makes you want to make healthier choices in other areas of your life too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Instead of just trying to cover up the problem,
Right.
you can actually fix it from the inside out. It's empowering to know that we have more control over our hair health than we think.
Totally. And it's never too late to start making changes that will benefit your hair and your overall health.
Yeah, like eating right, managing stress, being gentle with your hair.
All those simple things can make a big difference.
I love that. So, to sum up, hair loss is often treatable, and there are things we can do to help our hair grow.
Absolutely. And if you're concerned about it, the best thing you can do is talk to a dermatologist.
Right.
They can help you figure out what's going on and come up with a plan just for you.
Yeah, don't wait until it's too late.
Exactly. The sooner you deal with it, the better.
Okay, let's take a moment to think about all this, and then we'll come back with one final thought-provoking idea about hair health. It's crazy how much emphasis we put on how our hair looks.
No, it's true.
We spend so much money on products and treatments.
Right.
Just to make it look a certain way. Mm-hmm. But what if we thought about it differently? Like, what if we saw our hair health as like a sign of how healthy we are on the inside?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at it.
Right.
I think if we saw it that way, we'd probably make healthier choices in other parts of our lives too.
Exactly. Instead of just trying to hide the problem.
Yeah.
We'd actually be fixing the cause of it, like if it's stress or diet or something like that.
It's about looking at the whole picture.
It's a holistic approach.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be amazing if we could all have that, like, radiant, healthy hair.
Right?
That comes from being truly healthy.
Exactly.
Like, your hair would be a sign that you're taking good care of yourself?
It would be like a reflection of your overall well-being.
Yeah, I love that. It's like your hair is trying to tell you something.
Yeah, it's sending you a message.
If you just listen to it.
Right.
You might be surprised by what you learn.
Exactly.
This whole deep dive has really made me realize how important it is to pay attention to what my body's trying to tell me.
Yeah, it's all about those subtle signs.
And it's better to catch them early.
Before they become big problems.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's important to remember that real beauty comes from within.
So true. So, to wrap up, we've learned so much about hair.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey.
We talked about what causes hair loss.
Right.
And the latest research. Mm-hmm. And how important it is to take care of your whole self.
A holistic approach.
Exactly. So, I hope our listeners feel like they can take control of their hair health now.
I hope so too. And don't forget, if you're concerned about hair loss, a dermatologist is the best person to talk to.
Absolutely.
They can give you personalized advice.
Great advice. And to all our listeners out there, keep learning, keep asking questions.
Stay curious.
And keep those locks lovely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of hair health.
It was fun.
Until next time.